Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The light of the new star, Kairos, filled the observation bay with a warm, steady glow, casting soft shadows across the instruments. Dr. Allison Carter stood near the wide window, her fingers absently tapping the edge of her datapad as she stared out into the endless expanse of space. The star was mesmerizing, its light unlike anything she had seen before. It wasn't just the brightness or the color that captivated her, it was something else, something alive. "Allison, you're going to burn a hole through that window with your staring," Commander Jonas Hartman said with a smirk as he approached from behind, his boots clanging softly on the metal floor of the orbital station. "Come on, we've got the final readings from the last energy pulse. You're going to want to see this." Allison turned, blinking as if coming out of a trance, and nodded. "Yeah, right. Sorry. It's just, something about this star feels off." Jonas chuckled, motioning her to follow him toward the control center. "You've been saying that since we first got here. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you've developed a crush on it." Allison shook her head, brushing off his joke, but her mind was still preoccupied with the star's peculiar energy readings. Kairos wasn't just a star, it was behaving in ways that defied all known astrophysical principles. Its energy emissions fluctuated, not in random bursts like a pulsar or a variable star, but in deliberate, patterned intervals. She had begun to suspect something beyond the natural world was at play. The control room buzzed with activity as the station's crew analyzed the latest data. Bright holographic displays flickered across the walls, showing charts, energy spikes, and gravitational wave patterns. Allison stepped up to her workstation and pulled up the latest analysis. "Here," Jonas said, leaning over her shoulder. "Take a look at this." The data on her screen showed the energy patterns Kairos had emitted over the past few hours. It was exactly as Allison had feared. The star's energy output was not only increasing in intensity but also becoming more synchronized with the colony's equipment. It's trying to communicate with us," Allison muttered under her breath, her mind racing as she scrolled through the data. "Communicate?" Jonas raised an eyebrow. "It's a star, Allison, not an alien. There's no sentience in something that massive." "Maybe not normally," she replied, her voice quiet but firm. "But this isn't a normal star. Look at these patterns. They're too regular, too structured. It's almost as if it's responding to our equipment." Jonas leaned closer, frowning as he studied the data. "Okay, that is weird, I'll give you that. But how can a star—" "I don't know yet," Allison cut him off, excitement creeping into her voice. "But I'm going to find out." Over the next few days, Allison worked tirelessly, poring over the data and running simulations, searching for any clue as to what Kairos might be trying to say. Her colleagues dismissed her theory at first, but as the star's energy emissions became more erratic and complex, they couldn't deny that something strange was happening. One night, as the station fell into its usual calm, Allison sat alone in the observation bay, staring once again at the star. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime from her datapad, another energy pulse, this one stronger than the last. She opened the latest readings and froze. The data wasn't just random energy fluctuations anymore. It was a pattern, one that looked eerily similar to the rudimentary signals used in early human communication with deep space probes. "It was a message." Allison's heart pounded in her chest as she quickly began decoding the signal, her fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. The star was speaking to them. But what was it trying to say? The more she worked, the clearer the signal became, and soon, she had a translation. "I see you." Her breath caught. This wasn't just random noise. Kairos had reached out to them deliberately before she could fully comprehend what this meant. The room around her flickered, and a strange sensation washed over her, a tingling warmth that seemed to envelop her entire body. She glanced at her data pad again, but the display had frozen. The lights in the station dimmed, and for a brief moment, the entire world seemed to stand still. Then, in her mind, she heard it. A voice, soft yet ancient, resonated through her thoughts. "You have found me." Allison stood, her legs weak beneath her. Who are you?" There was no answer at first, just the steady hum of the star's light beyond the glass. But then, the voice returned, clearer this time. "I am Kairos. I am the light and the void. The beginning and the end. You, who have come to my presence, are not the first, but you are different. You are curious." Allison's mind raced. She knew she should be afraid, but instead, she felt a profound sense of awe. This was no ordinary star. Kairos was alive. Conscious. It had been waiting, watching, for eons, and now it had decided to speak. Why us?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You are part of a larger design, a fragment of the greater whole. Your kind is not the first to discover me, nor will it be the last. But you carry within you the seeds of something that has not been seen before." Allison swallowed hard. "What do you mean? What seeds?" "Your origins are not what you believe. The light that burns within your people comes from the stars themselves. I have seen the rise and fall of many, but you are connected to something older than even I." Allison's thoughts spun. Could it be possible? Could humanity's origins be tied to something far beyond their understanding, something cosmic? "I don't understand," she whispered. "How are we connected?" "In time, you will see. But first, there is much you must learn." The days following the first contact with Kairos were a blur of activity. Allison's discovery had shaken the entire scientific community aboard the colony. Communication with a sentient star was unprecedented, and suddenly, every researcher on the station was scrambling to understand what Kairos might mean for humanity. As they delved deeper into the data, Allison began to piece together fragments of an ancient history that had been lost to time. Kairos had witnessed the birth of stars, the rise of civilizations, and the destruction of worlds. And within its light, it held the key to understanding humanity's place in the cosmos, but there was little time to ponder the implications. Word of an impending disaster had reached the station. A neighboring star system supermassive black hole was destabilizing, threatening to send catastrophic energy waves across the galaxy. The Galactic Federation had issued a warning, but there was little they could do. The energy wave would sweep through the colonies, including the one orbiting Kairos, wiping out everything in its path. As panic spread through the colony, Allison knew there was only one option. They had to ask Kairos for help. Allison could feel the weight of the colony's survival pressing down on her. The data from the black hole was undeniable. The energy wave it was emitting would be strong enough to obliterate everything in its path. They had weeks, maybe even days, before it reached Kairos' system. The Federation had advised evacuation, but there was no time. The station wasn't equipped to transport everyone off the colony, and the nearest rescue ships were too far away. The crew around her buzzed with frantic energy, trying to devise ways to shield the colony or at least mitigate the damage. But the science was clear. They didn't have the technology or the resources to survive something of this magnitude. Allison's mind raced. She had been in constant contact with Kairos since the first encounter, slowly learning to interpret the star's communications. It was an ancient being, its consciousness as vast as the cosmos itself, and it had seen destruction on scales humanity couldn't even fathom. Maybe it had seen this kind of disaster before. Maybe it knew how to stop it. She needed to ask. Allison, Jonah said, his voice tight with worry as he approached her workstation. The latest simulations, they're not looking good. We've got less than 48 hours before the wave hits. Even if we evacuate some of the colony, there's no way we're all getting out. She turned to face him, her expression grim but resolute. We're not going anywhere, Jonas. His eyes widened. What do you mean? We don't have a choice. If we stay, we die. I know, she interrupted, standing up and pacing toward the observation window. The star loomed large in front of them, its light casting an eerie glow over the room. But there's another option. Kairos. Jonas frowned, his brow furrowing. Kairos? The star? You think it can help us? I know it can, Allison said firmly. It's been communicating with me for days now. It's not just a star, Jonas. It's something far more powerful. It understands things we can't even begin to comprehend, and it's been observing the universe for eons. If anyone, or anything, can save us, it's Kairos. Jonas looked skeptical, but he didn't argue. The situation was too dire for disbelief. How do you plan on convincing a star to help? Allison turned back to the star, the faint voice of Kairos echoing in her mind. It's not about convincing. It's about asking the right question. She closed her eyes, focusing on the connection she had established with the star. Her thoughts reached out, forming a bridge between her mind and the immense consciousness that existed within Kairos. The sensation was overwhelming, like standing on the edge of a vast, infinite ocean. I seek your help, she thought, pushing the message toward the star. For a moment, there was silence, just the hum of the station's machinery and the soft pulse of the star's light. Then, the voice returned, deep and resonant, filling her mind. You are afraid. You fear the end. Yes, she whispered, her thoughts trembling. A black hole in a neighboring system is sending a destructive wave of energy toward us. It will destroy the colony, and likely you as well. Kairos does not fear destruction. I have seen countless stars die and be reborn. But you are different. You fear because you are finite. Allison swallowed. We are. We have no way to stop it. But you have the power. You can create a shield, bend space-time, do something. You've existed for eons. There must be a way. To intervene is to alter the course of the universe, Kairos replied, its voice tinged with ancient wisdom. I am an observer, a guardian of the balance. To act would be to disrupt the natural order. Natural order? Allison's frustration flared. Millions of lives are at stake. Are you really going to just sit by and let them die because of some cosmic principle? The star's silence was deafening. Allison's heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of desperation and anger fueling her words. I don't believe that's the only reason. You spoke of a connection between us, between humanity and the stars. You said we carry something within us. What did you mean by that? Kairos has seen the rise and fall of many. Your kind is young, but there is potential within you. You are of the stars, yet separate. To act now could awaken something in you that was not meant to be awakened, not yet. Allison's breath caught. What do you mean? There is power in your people, power that has lain dormant for millennia. If I intervene, that power may be brought forth before its time. What kind of power? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. The power of creation. The power to reshape the universe. It is within you, but you are not ready to wield it. To act now would be to disrupt the path you are meant to take. Allison's mind reeled. The implications of what Kairos was saying were staggering. Humanity had always wondered about its place in the cosmos, about whether they were truly alone in the universe. But this was beyond anything she had ever imagined. But if we die, she said softly, none of that potential matters. We'll never have the chance to awaken it. Perhaps that is the way of things. Not all seeds are meant to grow. Allison clenched her fists, a surge of determination rising within her. I refuse to accept that. You said we're different. That we have potential. Maybe we're not ready yet, but that doesn't mean we won't be. Give us the chance to grow, to learn, to reach that potential. Don't let it end here. There was a long pause, and for a moment, Allison feared the star would remain silent forever. Then, the voice returned, softer this time, almost reluctant. Very well. I will act. But know this, child of the stars, the path you walk is now altered. What comes next will be beyond your control. Allison exhaled, relief flooding through her. Thank you. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Allison and her team worked tirelessly to coordinate with Kairos, using the star's immense energy to construct a makeshift shield around the colony. It wasn't perfect, it wouldn't deflect the entire energy wave, but it would buy them time. As the wave approached, the colony held its breath. Allison stood at the observation window, watching as the first tendrils of the energy wave crept into the system, their brilliance blinding against the backdrop of space. Kairos pulsed with light, its energy surging outward in response. The wave hit, the shield held. For a moment, it seemed like they might survive, but then, the wave intensified, pushing against the barrier with more force than anyone had anticipated. The shield began to buckle, cracks forming in the energy field. Allison's heart pounded in her chest. If the shield failed, it would be over. Suddenly, Kairos flared brighter than ever before. The light was so intense that Allison had to shield her eyes, and the station's instruments went haywire, struggling to keep up with the power being unleashed. The wave collided with the star's energy in a cataclysmic explosion of light and sound. For a few terrifying moments, it felt as if the entire universe was unraveling. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, it was over. The energy wave dissipated, its destructive force neutralized by the star's power. Kairos dimmed, its light returning to a steady glow. Allison let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They had survived. The colony was intact, but the star, something had changed. In the aftermath, Allison continued her communication with Kairos, but the star's responses were slower, more fragmented. It had sacrificed a part of itself to save them, and now it was fading, its consciousness dimming like a dying ember. Your people are safe, Kairos said one final time, its voice faint in her mind. But remember what I told you. The path is altered. The seed is planted. One day, you will understand. And with that, the connection was severed. Allison stood in the observation bay, staring out at the star. She felt a deep sense of loss, but also gratitude. Kairos had given humanity a chance, and though the future was uncertain, she knew they had to honor that gift. As the colony began to rebuild and recover from the near disaster, Allison couldn't shake the star's final words. What had it meant by, the seed is planted? What power lay dormant within humanity, waiting to be awakened? She didn't have the answers, but one thing was certain, The universe was far more mysterious, and far more dangerous, than she had ever imagined, and their journey was just beginning.